how do we handle the way the mainstream media ignores and disrespects us?
First of all, thank you for being here. I would say the answer to that is that the mainstream media is less important now than it has ever been in history. CNN's total viewership is, I think, around $400,000 people an evening. And during prime time, Tucker Carlson is getting 40 million viewers. Joe Rogan is getting 10 million per episode. And I think one of the reasons that I'm doing well, I'm now beating President Trump and President Biden among young people under 35 nationwide. The last poll that was taken on that issue shows me beating them both of them with people under 45 in the 6 battleground states. And I'm also beating both of them among independents. And independents this time around are the biggest political party. So it's 52% of the vote are independent. I think about 24 and 24 Republicans and Democrats. It's the first election in American history where independents have been the biggest cohort. And I think the reason I'm doing well with those cohorts is that they're getting their news from non-traditional sources. So they're getting it from podcasts. The one group that I'm doing poorly with is the people I should be doing best with, which is baby boomers. And it's because baby boomers get their news from MSNBC, CNN, ABC, NBC, CBS, The Washington Post, The New York Times. And if I was living in that information ecosystem, I'd have a very low opinion of myself too. I'm not allowed to do interviews on those, I'm not allowed to do live interviews for the last 10 years on any of those platforms. So they'll report about me, but they've occasionally done live to tape, but they can then edit that and cherry pick it and then put it in their own context.
So let me step in for a second. So if I hear what you're saying that they're not even that important, is what you're saying.
I don't think they're important, and I think, I have to figure out how to reach those other people those baby boomers in order to win, and there's other ways that we can reach them, which we're doing now. But I just tell you this, and then, let other people talk. I have a 28-year-old son, Connor, who's very, very well informed. And I asked him the other day when I was thinking about this issue, I said to him, have you ever seen an evening news show? And he said, no.
Yeah.
Oh, and I think that goes for that generation. It is just not a place where they get their news. So there's an aging group that is getting their news from mainstream media.
I think you're right. Let me move to Dr. Rectenwald if I could. Dr. Rectenwald, answer that same question. How do we handle that? They ignore us or they disrespect us to the point that Mr. Kennedy's saying they will only do something that's taped so they can cut and paste. How do we handle that?
Well, I've been cited by Mr. Kennedy's Children's Health Network many times, the defender, and for that I appreciate that. And I've been on Tucker Carlson 3 times and many other alternative media sites. But I should say, if the day ever comes that the mainstream media begins to respect us, then we'll know we've taken a wrong turn.
Okay.
The mainstream media, let's be real, is a propaganda arm of the state and the ruling class. They're professional propagandists and liars. The media serve up official state narratives that bolster the causes of the regime, as they do with all the wars, with the COVID, with everything else. Frankly, I don't want their respect. I hope they don't approve of me. And of course, they're going to smear all true dissidents. There's no question that all dissidents will be smeared, or they'll utterly black them out. But that's their job. I expect nothing less. And so they also cultivate controlled opposition purposefully.
But hold on now. But we do know that a lot of people who vote do still watch them, right? We know that's true. So are you also agreeing with Mr. Kennedy and saying, you know what, I don't care, they're not that important?
I think they're not nearly as important as they had been in previous years and previous election cycles We have a huge mediascape of podcasters and X Spaces and all kinds of other venues to reach people. But the mainstream media still matters because they are, in some cases, considered, the papers of record in their various domains. We will be smeared by them, and that's the way it goes. We just have to get our message out more broadly through other venues.
So let me ask you, Mr. Chairman, it seems like that you're two of the people on this stage kind of think like it's not that important. Are you in the same boat as them, or do you disagree? How do we handle the disrespect and ignoring?
It's obviously not nearly as important as it used to be, right? It is not completely without its significance, and the reason for that is, as you pointed out, for a lot of folks, CNN, the Foxes of the world, they are in some sense media of record. And in that sense, it is not our job to try to please them, right? It is not our job to try to suck up to them to find common ground with their interests or their anointed politicians. It's not our job to see if we can say the right thing to get on their channels. It's our job to see if we can make their heads explode. It's our jobs to see if we can get a little bit of attention in a negative sense. I really liked what Michael just said here. If we get their respect, we know that we have made a significant wrong turn. Look, they are not as important as they used to be, and that is worth bearing in mind. We're going to have to let them go. For those of you in the room with a little bit of gray hair that might miss these organizations, sorry about that, but it is time to let them go. There is a little bit of hard work that exists today that didn't exist a generation ago. A generation ago, you'd be able to hit 2 or 3 media outlets and you were doing a good job, right? Over the past 18 months, I've had to do over 100 podcasts. That's a little bit of work, right? And I'm not suggesting it isn't a great pleasure to last week, shoot the BS with Kim Iverson for an hour. But the truth is that you have to get out there and reach a number of outlets because the media is splintered in a way that it didn't used to be. That means once in a while you're going to make a head explode, and once in a while you're going to find an ally.